Today, we read Leviticus chapters 14 and 15. We are in a section here where there's a lot of detailed description about cleansing from all kind of different stuff. And I hope that you've watched the videos on holiness and atonement to understand, because the principle and the message here is that death has infiltrated so many parts of life. And the story of the Bible is how Jesus fixes that death that comes in and it just pollutes all kind of different things, right? And so we see all these regulations in this talk about cleansing, right? And it's cleansing from things that cause death, and sin is ultimately the thing that causes death, but it's infiltrated all these parts of our life that are not inherently sinful in a way. So there's this cleansing from all kinds of different, that whether it be infectious skin disease, leprosy, oozing infections, right? And there's all of this going on, and it's giving this powerful illustration, right? There's cleansing from menstruation, right? Ejaculation, all of these things, and some of it might be uncomfortable. In fact, the fact that I talked about menstruation and ejaculation right now might be making you feel uncomfortable. But I think that there's the big picture, right? And so watch those videos. But there's also some practical things that are worthwhile talking about here. Firstly, back in the time that this was written, you have a group of over 1 million people living in tents in a desert, and so the access to sanitation is not the same. So I think there's some practical realities about these teachings of uncleanliness, that this stuff wouldn't spread, that infection wouldn't spread, that mold wouldn't spread, right? And so there's this. When it comes to the things that are more what we would say personal, right? For women, menstruation, men, ejaculation, and things like this, I think that there's a really valuable thing, and a friend of mine actually shared this. And just a heads up, in the next chapters, we're going to get into sexual laws, right? Teachings on sexual behavior. And this may even be more uncomfortable for someone who hasn't read this. But I think there's a valuable reality in this. And my friend Scott kind of got me onto this thought. And it was that God instructing and giving guidance in all of these areas was to teach people, right? And we'll learn some stuff where there was some pretty unnatural and messed up behaviors happening, and so God is correcting that. But also that he was taking away the kind of the mystery, right? Or the curiosity that surrounds these natural sexual things. So it is incredibly natural for a woman to menstruate, right? And unfortunately today we talk, oh, that's gross, or we it's like it's taboo. Whereas in the culture that God is setting up here, it would have been a regular, normal topic of conversation as you were growing up as a child. It would have never been something weird or something we look down on, right? The same thing with ejaculation. It's completely normal. And then also all of these different things, and so that there would be a healthy conversation about sexuality, and that we wouldn't get embarrassed, because there's nothing to be embarrassed about God creating something. And so as we get into all these different sexual laws, it helps us to have guidance, but it also for raising children, they're having a regular conversation with their parents and families about natural things, and it's not something that's weird or gross or uncomfortable, but it's understood in the correct context. And I think that's part of the value of these teachings and these laws, is they put our human bodies and what happens with them in correct context. It's no big deal. We talk about it, and we can look back to the beginning of the Bible, and we can see the blueprint that God has for healthy human behavior. And so as we read these things, good to remember the big picture of atonement, right? Of cleansing from sin and death. That's what it's all about. But there's also some practical realities of this. And if you're going through and you're a younger person, this is all natural stuff. If you're reading with younger people, it may be an uncomfortable conversation, but I think it's a necessary conversation to put it in the correct light. Hope this is helpful. Hope you're enjoying the scriptures. Have a wonderful day.